I, 27 male, was adopted as an infant. I always knew. My parents never hid this from me or made it something shameful. But I never liked to talk about it with others. It usually opens up a lot of questions about my biological, or real, as some would call them, parents. Or some people start talking about my parents like they're not really my parents. I had it happen when I was a lot younger, started school, and told people my special story. So after we moved when I was a preteen, I stopped talking about it and acted to others like my parents were my bio parents. I told my fiance when we started dating, but I never talk about it with people apart from her and some very close friends. To me, it's not something that anyone else needs to know. This includes my fiance's family. My adopted status was revealed to my fiance's family during a recent visit of theirs. I got a knock on the door from a private investigator who informed me my biological parents were interested in contact with me, and they overheard. They had a lot of questions, but primarily, they were angry at me for two reasons. Firstly, and most importantly, I didn't tell them. They did not like being kept in the dark and didn't like my fiance's response that it wasn't any of their business. Secondly, I expressed to the PI that I wasn't interested in any contact with them and asked him to please pass this on to my biological parents. My fiance's family had the very reaction I try to avoid from people, and they asked me how I could turn down the chance to know my real family. However, their primary criticism is that I didn't tell them and let them find out that way. They said they could have had grandkids affected by this, unknown medical history, and I wouldn't tell them. My fiance reminded them it was none of their business, and she had them leave early when they refused to let the topic go. But her parents are still angry at me. Am I the idiot? Edit. My biological family asked the PI to contact me directly. He had a letter from them as well. Not the idiot. I strongly suggest that you get out ahead of this with your in-laws. I've read a lot of stories where helpful relatives make contact with the biological relatives for OP's own good. It never ends well. I suggest that you and your fiance tell the in-laws exactly what will happen if the in-laws contact the bio relatives. No contact, limited contact, uninvited from the wedding. Whatever you decide, stick to it. Why the heck are they angry at you? I mean, it's not like you made your biological donors place you for adoption. My cousin was adopted, and it was such a non-issue for us. I don't know. We never felt like he was any less because he wasn't blood. He was and still is my cousin, just as much as his brother, who was born to my aunt and uncle after they adopted my cousin. People need to stay in their own lane. Your in-laws are behaving in a very condescending way. By one, asserting that you owed them this information, and two, asserting that they should have any input on how you move forward with the contact. Given that you haven't implied that they're like this in any other ways, I will give them the benefit of the doubt that perhaps they were just surprised and responded poorly in this one situation. Good for your fiance for setting and holding boundaries. This is truly none of their business, and I hope they'll have a good sense of not voicing their unwanted opinions again. I'm sorry for the stress. I'm sure this is added to an already busy season. I agree with this. Fiance should tell her family that OP's real family are the people who raised him. Full stop. Just one point to consider. My mother was adopted and has never wanted to know anything about her biological parents. As I've gotten older, I've started having some health issues that are likely caused by a genetic disorder. Because I don't know anything about my maternal medical history, getting care has been kind of tough. Asking for updated medical history from your biological parents might be helpful for you and your kids in the future. Like many siblings, my sister, 27, occasionally digs for a hurtful thing to say to me, 25 female, when she's angry, embarrassed, or just spiteful. Her recent dig has been to make sarcastic comments, implying that I would be a crappy mom and that my future hypothetical kids would suffer having me as a mom. Most of the time, I just ignore it. This is often in response to me not catering sufficiently to her anxiety. Everybody in my family suffers from some anxiety or depression. As a result, I feel that my parents especially tend to coddle. My mom will still book appointments for my sister because she doesn't like making phone calls. My dad will talk to wait staff on her behalf, etc. I used to have a very similar level of anxiety to my sister, but since moving out and getting into adult relationships and having a job, this has greatly improved. My sister's never held a job for more than a few months, and it has been years since her last job because of her anxiety. She lives at home with our parents. Today we were traveling together as a family, and the two of us went out to get some snacks at a supermarket. She abruptly got extremely edgy and wanted to leave immediately because of her anxiety. She wouldn't go anywhere alone, so this meant I had to leave immediately. I refused because from what I could tell, the thing that was making her anxious was simply two men who spoke a foreign language existing sort of near her. They were not interacting with her in any way, not looking at her, not in her space, nothing, just chatting and buying groceries. I checked out my stuff normally, and she made a snarky comment about how she hoped I didn't have children because I clearly wouldn't care about their safety. I said verbatim, "I know you say stuff like that because you think it hurts me. But why on earth would you think that I want to enable my kids like the way our parents have enabled you? I don't want them to turn out anything like you." She got incredibly upset and burst into tears, and I got scolded by our parents and other siblings for being cruel when she was already scared and upset. I did not apologize, and she hasn't apologized to me. Am I the idiot? I feel like I was just being honest in response to something clearly meant to hurt and upset me. Not the idiot. She's not a child to behave that way. Claiming she felt unsafe just because two people existing in the universe next to her were speaking a foreign language is unacceptable. Plus, the unkind remarks towards you were uncalled for. If she can't take it, she shouldn't dish it. It's time to keep low contact with your family, don't you think? These toxic people will only drag you down. Also, I love your reaction to your brat sister. It's mature and shows you and your family are not on the same level. Exactly, what a perfect answer. Good for you, OP, for standing up to her. I have similar anxiety, and I also don't like talking on the phone or talking to waitstaff, ordering room service, etc., as my palms immediately start sweating. I push through though. I also get therapy when it becomes too much to handle. And I'm never mean to anyone who's trying to accommodate me. Your sister should stop with her entitlement and mean streak and start being grateful to you for accommodating her. 1 decade ago, I, 64 female, bought a large 7-bedroom house for my daughter and her husband, 35 male, after they found out they were expecting a baby. My darling daughter and granddaughter tragically passed away 8 years ago in an accident. The loss of the two most important people in our lives was the most devastating time my son-in-law and I have ever experienced. In these past few years, I've gotten closer to my son-in-law, and I consider him the closest thing I have left to a child. I allowed him to keep living in the house I'd bought. 4.5 years ago, he met his current girlfriend, 34 female, at a grief support group, and they began dating. She had 4 children, 17 female, 14 female, 12 male, 5 female, from 3 previous relationships. She'd also adopted her stepchildren, 11 female, 9 male, she had from her late husband. Since they started dating, she's also become the guardian of her younger siblings, 10 female, 7 male, and her eldest daughter had a son, who is now 4 months old. My son-in-law is seen as a father figure to his girlfriend's kids. He looks after them while she works, sometimes drives them to and from school, helps take care of the baby, and does the things a father would typically do. Honestly, I never thought it would last this long. His girlfriend's been going through a lot of financial problems. She lives in a small 3-bedroom apartment and relies heavily on my son-in-law for money. In the past year, she quit her 2nd and 3rd jobs because of the money she got from him. His girlfriend recently found out she was pregnant. He decided this was a sign to take their relationship further and move his girlfriend and soon-to-be 10 kids into the home. I said absolutely no chance. I bought this home for my daughter and granddaughter. He argued that I'd previously promised to allow his future family to live in the house. While I knew he would have to move on eventually, I said that assuming he wouldn't date a single mother of 10 kids. I said she was using him as a way of providing for her litter of kids, and he was disrespecting my daughter by moving in a woman like her into my daughter's home. He said his girlfriend was having his baby, and he had a duty to take responsibility. He said she's a hardworking woman who overcame a troubled upbringing and cares about children, even if they're not biologically hers. I told him the house was legally mine, and I refused to let her move in. He claimed that they were in a long committed relationship, and moving in together was long overdue. I said they could do whatever they wanted, as long as she stayed out of my daughter's house. He accused me of being judgmental and elitist. Am I the idiot? You know, she may well be an incredibly compassionate person, but she has 10 kids, 3 bio ones, so she, knows how this works. I get that birth control can fail, but you think someone responsible for 10 kids would make sure in every possible way not to get pregnant. But suddenly she's with a financially stable guy without a mortgage and a 7-bedroom house, and whoops, she may be deeply kind, but she's also irresponsible, and so is he. Seriously, does no one care for these kids' stability? Anyway, irresponsible people are not who you want in a house you own. Plus, 11 kids and 2 adults? The house will be trashed. So while I don't love your judgment of her, it's not without merit. And if he isn't listed as an owner, he has no rights to the house. And you have to protect your investment. The fact that his girlfriend found someone willing to date her, with her having 10 kids and 4 baby daddies? Wow. She obviously got pregnant on purpose so she could move into that 7-bedroom house. LOL. Give him a 30-day notice to vacate. He can find another place to live so he can support his new tribe. Not the idiot and sell the house. This makes me sound like a witch. I realize that, and maybe this is selfish. Who knows? Anyway, I've been with my husband for 4 years, and we have pre-tween kids combined. We both came into the relationship with 3 kids each, and now we have a baby together. They all live with us full-time and go to their respective other parents' homes every second weekend. Here's the issue. For the past 3 weeks, there's been a rotating sickness in our home, and I'm the one taking care of everyone else, while sick as a dog myself. I'm exhausted, barely running on 4 hours of sleep a night between the baby breastfeeding and one or more of the kids getting up in the middle of the night for water or Tylenol or having coughing fits. At least 3 days a week for the past 2 weeks, 1 or 2 of the kids have been staying home, battling this illness. And again, I'm the one managing it, despite being sick and exhausted myself. My husband works from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. most nights, truck driver. The only one that this sickness hasn't touched is my tween stepdaughter, Hannah. She never gets sick. Her immune system is a tank, but she was getting irritated because she was the only one who hadn't been able to skip school. I told her she's not skipping school for no reason, and the other kids have been sick. It's not like they're playing hooky for craps and giggles. Either way, she asked her dad the night before last if she could stay home the next day because her mouth hurts. She has a tiny canker sore. He said yes. I was already angry because it wasn't discussed with me, and it was me having to deal with it. I'm just frustrated at this point because I want to nap with the baby, catch up on my sleep and take care of myself, but I can't because everyone's rotating staying home. Anyways, she stays home. I get everyone on the bus, times ranging from 6:10 to 8:30, and go back indoors. Hannah was immediately up my rear, asking me what I was cooking her for breakfast. I told her to have cereal. She whines and doesn't want cereal. She wants a full breakfast: eggs, toast, hash browns, sausage, pancakes. I say no. She gets angry and storms off to her room and slams the door. I go get the baby back down to sleep. I don't know, from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., she came into the nursery 9 times, waking up the baby, being loud, pushing my arm, her way of being playful, asking me to bring her shopping for her upcoming dance, asking me to bring her to the mall so she can spend her money, asking me to go watch her cook because she's starving. She did eat breakfast, but she bored eats, ADHD, and won't touch the stove unless I'm right there because she's scared. By 3 p.m., when I had to get the kids off the bus, I was fuming. The baby was screaming bloody murder because Hannah hadn't let the baby sleep more than 30 minutes all day between her whining, being loud, and slamming her bedroom door after I told her no to yet another let's go shopping request. Anyway, by the time my husband came home, I was done. I've never been so infuriated. Honestly, So when she came in later that night and asked her dad if she could stay home again because her mouth hurt so bad, and he said yes, I snapped and said, "Okay, better call your mother and go there then." My husband asked why we would do that, and I gave him the rundown. The other kids are respectful and let the baby sleep. Hannah made sure to keep the baby awake because she wanted to go shopping and thought that since the baby was awake anyway, I would just bring her. I'm not watching a fake sick kid who stays home from school again and keeps the baby up all day long again. She can go to her mom's. Anyways, she told her dad that I clearly hate her, and now my husband's giving me the 5th degree for making his daughter feel like an outcast. Not the idiot. Tell your husband she's not sick if she's hounding you to go shopping and wake the baby up at all hours of the day. He can take a day off work to take care of her if he doesn't want her going to her mother's. My boys will be sick some days, and the rule is if you're staying home, you're not allowed on the computers or the switches. If you're too sick to go sit at a desk and absorb lessons, you're too sick to focus on playing games. Most times, this is deterrent enough, and they're magically good enough to go to school. Exactly. If she feels well enough to shop, she can go to school. I mean, we got mental health days on occasion, but like our mental health had to not inconvenience others' mental health or work. The whole wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I'm sick part was that you stayed quiet and watched TV or read, or did a report that was due the next day and stayed out of the way, healing, recovering, and resting. Or you lost the privilege of a mental health day. My daughter's planning to take some exams required for admission to the prestigious medical schools in my country. It is pretty competitive, and after the test, the list of top students who are admitted is published. Some time ago, though, the government introduced a program that's like a backdoor admission for poor families. There's a separate quota, and it's easier to get in, but you must take the same test. Technically, we qualify for this based on my income over the past few years, but we're only slightly below the threshold. She wants me to enter her to opt into this quota, but I'm not for it, so I told her no, and now she's very angry with me. The way I see it is if she can't make it in the regular category, she shouldn't be going anyway. The student list of each category is published, and everyone will know how she got in if she doesn't make the first category. There are people in a much lower income than us who should benefit from it. It's not impossible, and she is bright and hardworking. Her cousins had no problem getting in a few years ago, and so should she. Am I the idiot for refusing to allow my daughter to get an easier path to getting into medical school? You are the idiot. Your daughter's asking to follow the guidelines that she didn't create, by the way. She's not cheating or scamming, but no, you want to make her go the hardest route because you think she can? What if she doesn't make it? Somebody else set the rules and the threshold. They set them for a reason. You're determining that the guidelines are loose. I feel bad for your daughter. Help her achieve her dream and stop being the obstacle. The issue is that OP is one of the pathetic, "we don't accept no darn charity in this family" type of people. OP seems more concerned with the shame of his daughter getting in under the program and having her name published. No other reason. Exactly. Man, you said everyone can see the list of who got in and how they got in. Everyone will know she's on the low income list. So you don't want anyone to know your financial status. You're embarrassed that you aren't higher on the income scale. That's a disgusting reason to hold your daughter back. You should be thrilled that she has the chance to better her life. You should be doing everything you can to help her get there, not putting barriers in her way needlessly. You are the idiot, big time.